is, which brings us to the next question, Bryan. Regis Prograis, coming off a unimpressive win over your fellow Puerto Rican, Danielito Zorrilla. That was a fight where going into it, I thought he was going to knock out, get the TKO victory against Zorrilla because Zorrilla gasses out, but Zorrilla actually fought really decent. And that was a fight also Zorrilla took on short notice. So there's also that thing that comes into play. So Regis kind of underperformed, but he's still been that dude at 140 pounds. So my question to you is, if Regis Prograis beats Devin Haney, what's next for him?
I think this is the most interesting thing. Like, to me, Regis winning is more interesting because now it's like, okay, Devin Haney has a loss. Regis Prograis beats a guy who was undisputed at 135, who was ascending, who was significantly younger. You don't always see that. You don't always see the older guy beat somebody who's 10 or so years younger in a title fight. That doesn't often happen. Especially when the younger guy is ascending and getting to his prime. That typically, you know, Trinidad Vargas, a lot of times, even though they didn't have as big of an age gap, that usually goes the other way, where you would expect the younger guy to come out and win. It's not a hard and fast rule, though. And I think Regis Prograis winning leads to some interesting possibilities because he's talked to us even about wanting big fights. Does that open up the door for a Teofimo Lopez fight that he called for at one point? Does it open up the door for him to fight Ryan Garcia? Because I feel like Regis, in a lot of respects, is just put in the driver's seat if he wins this fight. Also, because if he wins this fight, I think he has to win this fight by knockout because I don't think he's going to win a lot of rounds or enough rounds versus Devin Haney's style, where Devin Haney's not going to look to mix it up and be counterpunching. So I think that if Regis wins, it's going to be by a stoppage. And if that's the case, then whatever fight he has after that, it's going to be huge. It's going to be something that's heavily promoted, whether it's a welcome home fight at New Orleans before getting into a bigger fight later in the year, or he goes right to maybe Ryan Garcia or somebody like that on the DAZN side of things. Maybe it's an Arnold Barboza, which respectfully, I don't think it's as big as Ryan Garcia, but that would be, I think, a big fight in terms of like for boxing, for the sport, for the 140-pound division. But I think Regis can get pretty much any fight he wants after if he beats Devin Haney, because I think if he beats Devin Haney, he's going to stop him.
Okay, so for Regis Prograis, I'm very, very high on Regis Prograis, and I believe he is arguably the best 140-pounder because I do believe that fight with Josh Taylor, I would have gave the nod actually to Regis Prograis in that fight. However, if he beats Devin Haney, Regis Prograis is going to be that dude. People are going to start giving him respect. What is his best win? I think it would be Zepeda. I think that is Regis Prograis' best win. So now he's fighting a dude that has made a very big name for himself. Devin Haney, undisputed at 135 pounds, is moving up in a weight class. If Regis Prograis, and I do agree with Bryan in this, I don't think the judges are going to be giving Regis Prograis a lot of rounds. And we know how skilled Devin Haney is. He's going to be working that jab. Classic jab of Devin Haney, one of the best jabs in the sport. And it's going to be hard for Regis to win a lot of those rounds because we know how good Devin Haney is. But Regis has got the power that Devin Haney has never seen before. Devin Haney has never faced a guy like Regis Prograis with this power. And I do believe if Regis Prograis wins, it's going to be by knockout or TKO. It has to be. And if he does that to Devin Haney, who's been hit before, and we're going to get into all of that when we get into the betting portion, Regis' star is crazy. He's that dude now. He's even bigger than he ever was, and he deserves it. Because the biggest thing about Regis Prograis, why he's not a household name, is because the way he's been promoted. It's been some, not the best decisions, to be honest with you, and he hasn't been promoted the best, right? And so that's why when you say a guy like Regis Prograis to a casual fan, he's not as known as a Teofimo Lopez. And it's a shame because Regis is that good. And so I believe he becomes an instant superstar because Regis also is wavy. Like, I've been watching a lot of the DAZN stuff, the preview stuff for Devin Haney and Regis Prograis. And don't get it twisted, like Devin Haney's a cool kid, but Regis is just so much more wavy than Devin, and he's so much more relatable and cool. And I don't know if because me and Regis are like the same age, and so I relate to him way more. Like even the way he dresses at the press conference, I was like, yeah, he looks wavy. You know what I mean? And he's a real dude. We've had him on the show before. Super humble. Go check out that interview that we did with Regis. He's just a nice dude. It's hard to not root against him. And I remember I was watching, their face off, and Chris Mannix was hosting it. And Devin Haney was like, you're like 10 years older than me. And like, I've done more, but Regis started boxing when Haney became a pro. He hasn't been boxing
Regis,
for a long time.
Regis said that, and Devin Haney's like, "Yo, you're 10 years older than me," and Regis like, "And we're right here. I'm right in front of you. Like we're in the
Yeah.
same spot."
It's so stupid. And then also, the best part was just like, who have you knocked out? And Devin laughed because, like, who has he knocked out? Right.
He didn't
So,
even knock out Yuriorkis Gamboa. Red
dude,
flag for me.
yeah. And that's when, listen, later down the line, Gamboa wasn't the same guy, Gamboa. You know what I mean? Devin should have knocked him out. But that's when that narrative of pillow fist come out. And so what's the most annoying thing is Devin is a big dude, though. Like, even in that interview, I was like, Devin's huge, dude. And he was like, I'm gonna knock you out. You're not knocking out anybody. Like, stop it. I understand why he's doing it, but I also believe that a lot of people don't like Devin because it like doesn't come off as genuine when he talks like that. I think he's probably just a nice kid. He seems like a nice guy. Like when I look at him, like I get it, but it's just like he seems like a nice guy. So you shouldn't talk like that. And it's funny, like I'm watching their face off and I'm just like, they would probably be friends. Like they look like the
Like
way
they're gonna have, like you could kind of go into a fight and be like, "Oh, they're gonna have mad respect for each other after it's done."
they are. And Regis is such a good dude. He's such a good dude that he's gonna shake his hand and be gracious after the fight, right? Like if you haven't seen that mandatory interview with Regis Prograis, please go check it out. He gave us a lot of time. He actually gave us time twice, because we had technical difficulties the first time, and he like showed up the next day to do the interview or whatever it was. He's just a nice dude. Let's get to some comments. IMPK13, friend of the show. We always appreciate you, IMPK13. If Prograis wins, the world is his oyster. He could fight any 140-pound champions or Garcia for a big payday. That's true. Ryan Garcia is going to bring in the money, and Regis deserves that payday. I would advise him to stay away from Tank, though. Okay, so he was on our show.
You should mention that.
He was on our show, and he said he wanted a fight with Tank. And Tank hasn't fought at 140 since Mario Barrios. And I don't know why he doesn't want to go back to 140. He said he didn't feel comfortable at 140. But that would be a fight that I would want to see. I would want to see a lot of people against Tank, though. I think Tank is the best at 135.
I don't know what Tank's next move is because looking around the landscape at 135, damn IMPK. Says
No,
he dropped
no.
out of school at 13.
This is what Haney said. Haney said because Regis was like, you ain't even ever been in like a street fight before.
I do remember
or anything
that
like in high school.
And then they were talking about how Haney boxed in Mexico and he was 17 years old or whatever. And yeah, I mean, look, I think Nas dropped out of school at like 13 also, maybe even earlier, but Nas real Illmatic. So,
yeah, I mean, it's totally different. You know what I mean? But Haney's very successful. Anthony Beck, my boy, says, I need to see consistency from Haney. He needs to stay far the hell away from Tank Davis, though.
Can we actually unpack this for a second? Because the concerns that I would have for Devin Haney in a Gervonta Davis fight, I feel like those can manifest itself in Regis Prograis, who is, I would say, not the same as Tank, but poses some of the same problems. Hard-hitting southpaw, smarter than he may appear inside the ring. Like he's not somebody who's just going to bulldoze you. He's kind of a thinking man's fighter as well. It didn't display itself in the Danielito Zorrilla fight, but Regis Prograis is a smart-ass fighter. And he has elite finishing ability like Gervonta Davis does. He's finished most of his opponents. So I wonder if Devin Haney struggles but still beats Regis Prograis, there's probably going to be enough there for a Tank blueprint if they were to fight. But I don't really see Haney and Tank happening. I just think I think that's an interesting point from Anthony where like it leads me to believe Regis Prograis can cause some of the concerns you would have for Devin Haney in a potential Tank fight. And especially if Regis Prograis just straight up wins the fight by knockout, then you're going to be like, yeah, he's not fighting Tank.
You know what's crazy is that in that face-off with Chris Mannix that DAZN did with Haney and Prograis, the one thing that Haney says was, "You ain't got no skill." I do believe Regis has skill. Like, he's not as skilled as Haney, but to say he has no skill is so disrespectful. So I think Regis is going to take that personally, obviously, because we know how OG is. But
You know
I
what
just
he
feel
thinks
like
that
it's
too?
underrated. But it's underrated. Like, Regis is such an underrated fighter that for Devin to say that, it's crazy. Why do you think he says that? Just because of like,
Regis is an old school type of fighter, right? Like you can tell by watching Regis fight. He studied dudes from the 80s and 90s
yeah.
and shit. Like we asked him and Roberto Duran is like his guy. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the guys he studied. Haney, you could tell by watching him. He studied Floyd Mayweather above all else. And like older Floyd Mayweather, not young Floyd Mayweather who used to mix it up a lot.
Not pretty boy, not
A
pretty
lot of
boy.
these younger dudes coming up, they studied Money Mayweather post first, second retirement, whatever. Not Pretty Boy Floyd, who was piecing up like Diego Corrales and Arturo Gatti, which are like his two best
Okay, like
performances,
the
probably.
Arturo Gotti wasn't the same Gotti though. Like I hate
No,
when
I
people bring
know
that up.
that,
That gets me so mad. Like, please
but that's
stop
like
bringing that one up.
that's like Floyd Mayweather's cleanest performance.
I know, but
You know,
Gotti wasn't Gotti, so just stop it. I hate it when people do that, and I'm a Floyd fan, but I just hate it when people bring that up. That
do
was
you
a
hate
tough
it
one.
because Arturo Gotti's Canadian?
Well, obviously, I gotta support the Canadians. You know what I mean? No, I just hate it because he just wasn't that same dude. And it's like, well, what do you expect Floyd to do to him? Like, what did we expect to happen? Right? So it's just like one of those fights where I'm like, it was hard. It was tough to watch. I remember watching
It's
that
one
fight
of
and
the
being
top
like,
5. It's one of the top 5 ass
let's go to
whoopings.
Ace 3117. Sorry, 317 Ace. I apologize. I gave you an extra one. No way Tank fighting Haney at 140. It would have to be at 135 if it were to happen. To bounce off this, I don't
Hmm.
think we get Tank and Haney at 140. And I don't think we get Tank and Haney. I think we're more likely to get Tank and Shakur.
I think Tank and Haney is more interesting at 140 than 135 because Haney's already moved up and it's going to be harder for him to come back
Tank's not going
down.
to move up. Tank's not going to do 140.
Yeah, but I don't think this fight's happening, but in a hypothetical sense, I think it's a more interesting fight at 140 than it is at
And
135.
if I'm Haney, I'm not moving back down. Like
No chance.
if I'm Haney, I am not doing any of the Ryan Garcia contractual
No.
agreements. Like,
He was
I'm
he
not
was
doing any of that.
he was undisputed at lightweight. He don't got to go back down.
Exactly. So because Devin Haney is that dude, he's Devin Haney. So I don't think he has to, check off everything that Tank wants because Tank is that dude too. I just don't see that fight ever happening. I do see it happening for Tank and Shakur though. And that's a fight where I could see it happening.
I don't know if I see that right now.
Not right now, but I mean, that's the fight I would want to see. And
I hope
I
so. I hope so, but I don't like I'm skeptical anybody's going to fight anybody until it actually happens in this sport because you kind of have to be that way.
the young guys are fighting dudes though. I think
Are they?
yeah, they are. Like, we're getting Regis and Devin. Like, we're literally doing a whole show on Regis and Devin Haney right now.
No, but like all right, so Tank gives us the Ryan Garcia fight and it's like we haven't heard from him in 8 months and is he going to just fight Isak Cruz again? Like I don't know what are
But
you
I
going to
think
do?
Tank's to that level, and
Is he going to fight Frank Martin?
but I think Tank's at that level, and don't get it twisted. Like, I like it when guys are busy, right? But I think at the same time, we see a lot of guys in boxing that fight once a year, right? We had Cody Crowley on the show. I'm just like, just saying like our interviews right now, and he's talking about how dudes go check out that interview as well, Canadian dude. He was telling us how like dudes fight once a year now. Like, a lot of guys aren't active. And so, but at the same time, respectfully, I think Tank has earned the right to maybe fight once a year if he wants to. I don't think that that's his thing, but he also wants to enjoy life, right? So I think it's one of those things. I think he should fight at least 2 times a year, but
I think everybody should fight twice a year if you're a champion. Let's get to one more comment, then we can get to our predictions because we still got to do that. IMPK says, "Do y'all believe the claim that Tank knocked out Haney in a sparring session when Haney was 17?" Question mark.
yes, I do. I believe Tank will knock out anybody. So
I don't know.
I do believe that claim, yo. I don't know if he like knocked him out, but I'm sure he like
He rocked him,
he definitely
staggered him.
rocked
I don't
him, yo.
believe anybody anything. Anybody anything they say in this fucking sport. All right, let's